our names are Angela
and Native.
and this is Pacific and this is AC News.
Today's topic is about disrespectful students in class.
We have to get inspiration from teachers and students to get different points of view.
Now let's go with Kiera.
Hello, my name is Kiera, and here are some videos with different perspectives.
How does disrespectful students affect your teaching?
Well, it slows down the flow of my lesson, and also it's sort of annoying when they're disrespectful for no apparent reason. So.
What do you think is the #1 reason for students to talk?
Usually it's because they're either bored of the material, so it's too easy, or it's too difficult for them to do the task. So that's one of the two main reasons I feel like they talk in class.
What goes through your mind when students interrupt class?
First is, are they serious? Are they serious? I just get upset, and I find it disrespectful.
Thank you for your time.
All right.
How does disrespectful students affect your teaching?
Disrespectful students affect my teaching because when someone feels that they need to be disrespectful toward me or to their classmates, it stops the flow of class and it interrupts the learning of other students. While they're busy, shouting whatever out, students, their attention is disrupted. They are looking at that student versus doing their own work, and it interrupts class. Every time it happens, it interrupts class.
What do you think is the #1 reason for students to talk?
The #1 reason students talk, whether it's just talking out loud or being disrespectful, is typically because they may be struggling with the assignment and maybe they're frustrated. So they figure, well, if I'm frustrated, I'm going to frustrate other people.
What goes through your mind when students interrupt class?
What goes through my mind when students interrupt class, my first thought is always like, why are they doing this? Don't they know that they shouldn't be doing this? Like, this is not the behavior that goes in the classroom. And then I have to go, put my teacher hat on and think, okay, what can I do to help diffuse the situation? Sometimes, admittedly, I do get a little bit loud, but usually I try to think, okay, how can I solve this problem without acting just like them? Because if both of us are acting like that, it's going to make the situation worse. So I try to diffuse the situation and sort of redirect that energy to help them refocus while still maintaining the entire class. It's not something that's easy to do, but I think I do an okay job at it.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
How does disrespectful students affect your teaching?
Disrespectful students affect my teaching in many ways. One thing is, of course, I can't teach because I'm worried about behavior and worried about other things that we shouldn't be worrying about anymore, especially at 8th grade when we have 13, 14-year-olds that have gone through the same system for the last 2 years. They know the rules, they know what's expected of them. It keeps me from actually teaching students.
What do you think is the #1 reason for students to talk?
Oh, that's a lot. #1 reason?
Yeah.
Man. You want to hear a teacher response or you want to hear a student response?
Teacher response.
Student response, #1 reason why they're talking is just they're bored. They're not interested. And that's also a student response. They're bored and they're not interested. That's #1 reason they talk.
What goes through your mind when students interrupt class?
Typically I do take it as as being personally disrespectful because I'm trying to try to teach you, try to give you an education, a free education. It's like almost like a gift. I'm giving you a gift and you're just throwing it back in my face. It's just, I'm trying to do you a favor, help you out to learn not only things about history, but life skills. Things you're gonna have to learn when you get a job. Being respectful to your boss. You might not like your boss, but you still have to be respectful if you don't want to get fired. Same thing here, basically. Any other questions?
No, that's all. Thank you. How does disrespectful students affect your teaching?
Disrespectful students affect my teaching in several ways. Math is hard enough to understand for students, and it's harder enough when you get disrupted by different students. So number one. If they start talking, then you get other students starting to talk. And now it's not only going to be one student or two students or three students, it's going to be the whole classroom. So disruptions are very, very distracting to all teachers.
What do you think is the number one reason for students to talk?
Students primarily talk during class when they are not interested in the lesson or they're bored, or they find something else funny that's going on in the classroom, and so they lose focus right away. But I think the main reason is because they're not focused in the class and it's boring for them. So as teachers, I think we just got to make it a little bit more interesting for them.
What goes through your mind when students interrupt class?
The first thing that goes to my mind when students are interrupting class is how do I get the class back engaged to make sure that, especially when something important is going on, I want to make sure that they understand that what I'm trying to teach. But what goes through my mind is how do I get this class back on track?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Daddy, can you play Princess Fashion Shows with me?
Sweetheart, I'd love to, but the guys, they're outside waiting for me.
Dr. Vito's.
Steve, what is the holdup?
Is that my wedding dress?
It could be.
Do you think that talking in class affects you? If so, how?
It does, because then we get behind in work.
What goes through your mind when the class stops for interruptions?
Stress, because you get stressed out with all the teachers talking to.
Do you ever get tired of interruptions?
No, not really. I ignore it.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think that talking in class affects you? If so, how?
Yeah, because it keeps us away from learning and it's a distraction.
What goes through your mind when the class stops for interruptions?
That why don't people just be quiet and focus on their work?
Do you ever get tired of the interruptions?
Yes, I do, because it happens commonly every day. Yeah.
Thank you. What makes you talk during class?
Other people?
Do you think talking in class will affect you in the future?
Yeah, maybe.
What do you think can make you stop talking in class?
If the teacher let us talk more?
Thank you for your time.
Go back to Nate and Angela.
We have taken many different interviews from students and teachers, and we have noticed that the number one reason for why students interrupt class is because they are bored and frustrated with the lesson.
To prevent this from happening, we suggest teachers should do more group activities and topics that interest teens.
We have taken many interviews to students and teachers, and we have noticed that the number one reason for why students interrupt in class is because they are bored and get frustrated with the lesson.
For this to stop happening, how does disrespectful students affect your teaching?
Disrespectful students